All right, here's the second portion of the lesson planning. And this is where we're going to focus a lot on differentiation. So you saw a lot on your reading list focused on differentiation. And as alluded to in part A of the lesson planning video, differentiation is tricky. It's hard. It takes a lot of thought. But when you differentiate and a child really grasps the concept because of the work that you've done, that's why we do it, right? So again, it's part of your job. Will everything that you try work? No. But the more that you try, the more that you'll go, oh, I get it. I need to go down this avenue, or I need to go down this avenue with this particular child. Okay? So hopefully you had a chance to look at those readings. Reading Rockets, the whole website is one of my favorites. So I'm going to try to give you readings from that so that you start to go, oh, I can actually go to Reading Rockets website for almost anything, and particularly differentiation. So the quote, differentiation isn't just about having different students do different things. Differentiated instruction is based on the students' needs. Okay, so what do they need from an educational point of view? Okay, so when you are, sorry, I got another computer. I got like triple computers going on here. Okay, lesson planning. Why differentiate? So some of the points from your readings last week were your students are going to vary greatly in your class. That's basically one of the big reasons. You want to maximize your students' individual potential, right? You want to make sure that they have a fighting chance of understanding the concepts. It ultimately will make students more successful in school, which is kind of what we want. And it's part of our professional mandate is expert teachers are attentive to students' varied learning needs. So why differentiate? There you go. Those are some good points on why we differentiate. How do we differentiate? Probably is the trickier one. Okay, so you can differentiate in 4 different ways. So Content is, I'm just going to read this so I don't change the meaning, is what the student needs to learn is the actual content. So it's kind of what you would think of as what you're drawing from the program of studies. So in order to ensure that students are actually learning the content at a differentiated level, is you can use different reading materials. So there are lots of leveled books that you can use. You can have spelling lists that are different for different students. You can have vocab at varying readability levels. And I know that you have to be sensitive, right? So, I've seen some teachers use different colors, like, okay, this is the pink list is for these particular students and the yellow list is for these particular students. Do the students know that the pink list are easier words and the yellow list are harder words? Absolutely. They absolutely know what's going down. So I think you have to be sensitive and a little, not sneaky, but just don't make a big deal of it. Just be like, okay, these are the words. And generally, kids are super interesting. They want to be treated fairly and consistently, but they seem to understand that kids are at different cognitive levels. And most of the time, kids don't begrudge somebody having a different spelling list than another kid. Again, you have to suss that out with your own class. If it becomes an issue, then you have to, talk to some other teachers and be like, hey, I really want to have different vocab lists, but they're like all over it. And they're questioning me as to why this person has an easier list than me. But I would say generally, they know did you know where you were at cognitively with your class in elementary? Probably. And generally kids want to be challenged, or they want to know that they can have success. So if they have an easier vocab list and can have success, generally they're okay with that. Okay, but yeah, I get that. It's being sensitive and figuring out what works with your particular class. Okay, process. These are activities in which the student engages in order to make sense or to master the content. So this is actually the process. So they can use tiered activities with the same understanding of the skills, but proceed with different levels of support or challenge. So you might have a whole bunch of tiered activities, but maybe your beginning students, you have to say, okay, I need you to get to tier 3. And maybe your achieving students, you say, I need you to get to tier 6, and your exceeding, I need you to get to tier 10. And that's just the way it is. Will your exceeding kids like the challenge? Usually they will be like, yeah, give it to me, because they're bored, right? Again, you might have an exceeding kid that's like, I only want to get to tier 6, and then you have to figure out what that conversation looks like. Okay, products. These are culminating projects that ask the students to rehearse, apply, and extend what he or she has learned in a unit. So give them some option of how to express learning. So is it important that they all write an academic paper? Is it important that they all do an infographic? Is it important that they all stand up in front of their peers and do a speech? Or could those be 3 options to showcase learning? So that's the product. You want them to showcase their learning, but are there multiple ways to showcase their learning that will ultimately showcase their learning, right? So like for one of your assignments, I gave you the opportunity to do an infographic or write an academic paper, because some of you are like, I don't want to do an infographic. Those drive me nuts. I spend way too much time on the minutia. And others of you are like, yeah, Canva, I love. Let me at it. And so it's again trying to say, okay, I need you to get here and show me your understanding. But the product is just a medium. We're really going after the understanding. Okay, and then learning environment. This is the way the classroom works and feels, right? So, oops, spelling mistake. You might have some, wrong computer, might have some quiet places, not quit places. You might need to have a class list of guidelines listed for everybody to see. You might want to have some dim lights. I know lots of teachers are going to IKEA and putting those things over the like blue almost screens over their fluorescent lights, and to give it a calmer learning environment. Maybe having some comfy chairs so that when they go to read, they're comfortable. That's differentiating the environment. Okay, so I want you to be thinking about these 4 aspects: content, process, products, and learning environment. So it's not always only about content. It's not only about process or product. These all sort of work together, but you might not necessarily always need to be either focusing on one or all 4. Sometimes you just might need to have some individual time where it's quiet, and that will help to differentiate for some of your students. Okay, here we go. So what does differentiation look like in the classroom? So what you want, this is from one of the Reading Rockets reading. So ongoing assessment and the results of assessment is tightly linked to instruction. So, for example, when a child gets a concept, this will affect choices, this will affect groupings, this will affect content and activities. Okay, so be thinking about that assessment and the results of assessment linking to instruction. Also, you want to ensure that there are respectful activities for all students. Again, I'm going to quote, "Each student's work should be equally interesting, equally appealing, and equally focused on essential understandings and skills. There should not be a group of students that frequently does dull drill worksheets," that's my addition, "and another that generally does fluff, busy work, crossword puzzles, coloring," my addition. Rather, everyone is continually working with tasks that students and teachers perceive to be worthwhile and valuable. Again, so those beginning students should have interesting, authentic, inspiring activities. You shouldn't just be saving that for those exceeding students. Okay, flexible groupings. Here, all students like a variety of peers to work with over a number of days. You could do, this could be a potential flexible grouping. So they could do like readiness peers. So they would be with sort of a normal, like a leveled, like all your beginners are together, all your achieving and all your exceeding. But then you could do mixed readiness group. So you could have a beginning, an achieving, and excelling all in the same group. You could have similar interest group. So everybody that's interested in horses, doesn't matter your level, but it's an interest group. You could have different interests. Like I want to put somebody who's totally in to motorbikes or cars or horses or snakes all in one group. So that they can talk about their different interests. You could put people with peers who learn the same way that they do. So maybe you have kids who are very kinesthetic, very tactile. Doesn't matter their level, you put all those kids together. Sometimes it's just random, just like boom, 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 boom. Let's mix it up. Let's put in it. And again, you'd have to know your kids pretty easily to do that. You as a teacher should assign some group work and say, okay, you four are working together, and then give the students choice sometimes. I think you guys like it too, when sometimes you get to choose. I actually work really well with my friends, and it's truly enjoyable, but I also enjoy working with the students that you put me with. So what it does is it gets away from all the beginning students always being together. Especially in ELA, where lots of those beginning students have trouble reading. So they never hear a fluent reader. They're always hearing stilted reading. And so if you mix it up with some flexible groupings, then they have a chance to hear a fluent reader or somebody whose comprehension is, way beyond the grade level. Okay. And finally, excelling students. Again, I alluded to this in the lesson plan. They need more than just helping beginning students or to do another worksheet on the same concept at the same level. They've already shown that they have reached that outcome. What can you do to raise the understanding, raise the level, but within the same realm of that outcome? And again, it's tricky. It takes a lot of thought to do that. Okay, so that's what does it kind of look like in the classroom? So when you are starting to think about your own lesson plans, we have put together 2 classes, like a Division 1 class, which you can use if you're K to 3, or a Division 2 class from grade 4 to 6. So it doesn't matter if you're K1, 2, or 3, you can use the same class. So I would stop the video right now and go and look at these classes, and what you'll find is the students are your year 4 colleagues, and what they put down is their own analysis of themselves as either a K to 3 or a 4 to 6 student. So, and then Val Brown very graciously added in a few other students that she has worked with over her 30 years of education and of teaching, I should say, and she added in She added in some students that she had to differentiate for. Probably a combination of different characteristics from different students and in there. So have a look at that and start to think about, okay, so I've got some excelling kids, I've got some achieving kids, I've got some beginning kids. How am I going to teach this? How am I going to get those kids to understand this learning objective in their own way? Okay, let's actually stop there. See you later.